Hello everybody, Ollie from flightcomp. I hope you're all doing well. I know a lot of you are locked inside or are self-isolating or quarantining, social distancing. Maybe you're getting a little bored, and maybe you're just bored enough to watch one of my videos. So, today I have basically my first look at the Infinity Evo. It's been out there for a few months, but this is the first time I got my hands on one. And we'll just take a quick look at some of the parts and see what the new Evo looks like. So let's just dive in. These are the fuselages here. There's a V-tail and an X-tail. Talking about the nose, it's a different profile than the old NG. I'll give you a little better explanation on that when we compare these parts to the previous NG model. Gorgeous fuselages. The quality and craftsmanship on the Infinities has always been really outstanding. Not a whole lot different with the fuselage. They did change the ballast system, so there's no tube here. All the ballast goes in the wing. The boom has been extended quite a bit. That's one of the big changes. And similar X-tail mounting system as the old model, so not much has changed there. A few little minor changes there. Again, I'll go over those in greater detail later. And again, the V-tail model has also has an extended boom, and it has the same really unique and just very well thought out V-tail system as the previous NG. I really like the way the V-tail system works on the Infinity. The tails. V-tails remain unchanged. Here's one V-tail panel with this really nice metal horn on the end. Vertical stab for the X-tail is a little different, so this part has changed a little bit over the NG, and we'll have a closer look at that later. And the horizontal stabilizer for the X-tail remains the same as the NG. Let's have a look at the wing now. Okay, here's the wing. Some new graphics for the Evo. I really like this, the graphics on this model. Faded in paint at the logo here, that looks nice. Structurally, the wing is identical to the NG, so there aren't any structural changes. However, there are a few big changes in the design of the wing that will probably make a big difference. The first being that the brake for the dihedral is closer to the center, so the flap or center portion of the wing is shorter than the previous model, and the ailerons and tips are longer, and the control surfaces are much wider, both flaps and ailerons. If we turn her over here, like all the previous Infinities, they come set up with the Servo Ramen IDS system, so the horn's already installed and the arms are in place, and you can specify what kind of servos you want to use, and they will supply the right frame kits for those servos. We have a tape gap seal, so no resin gap seal, just tape, sparkly tape. And again, this is a two-piece hollow molded wing, so it's not the solid core foam. You could call this more traditional or an older way of construction, especially in regards to F5J, but you do get a much better surface finish, and I can tell you guys the quality of this wing is really nice. And over here at the root, pre-installed 4-pin Deans. We got the joiner box, and then there's a tube for ballast, and the ballast arrangement is a little bit different. We can go over the ballast a little later. So there's a look at the wing. Again, plan form is So the plan form, the outline of the wing is identical to the NG, and the airfoil, the cross section, is identical as well. So I hear that the plane has become more responsive. I haven't flown one of these yet. I did fly the Infinity NG for a while, and it was a really nice flying airplane. My biggest complaint with the NG was that when you deployed the flaps, I lost a lot of directional stability in the landing pattern, and the plane would just kind of wallow and mush around and wasn't very accurate with my landings. That's just my opinion. A lot of guys say they didn't have that problem, but I think in making the flaps shorter and the ailerons bigger, I think that the one of the aims for that was to improve controllability at slow speeds with the flaps down. So, but you know, we'll see how it works. All right, here's the ballast that you get with the light version. All 4 of these together are 400 grams. And you just slide them into the wing like this. So you can put a maximum of 2 slugs in each side of the wing. They don't go any further than that, so you can only fit 2. Now I suppose you could, you know, play around with this and maybe just put 1 slug in on one side or 1 on each side, but you're gonna have to make some spacers or shims or something so they don't rattle around in here. The kit doesn't come with spacers, but you know, they're just square, so you could probably just shape up some wood or find some wood already that's the right size. I'm sure it's a metric measurement. This is the old ballast in the NG and the previous Infinities, and it would sit in the fuselage, and this sort of spring-loaded ball would clip it into the fuselage. Really neat and clever idea, but sometimes if you made violent maneuvers, it would actually slide out into your wing. So I think this is a better and safer setup than the previous model. Have a look at all these goodies. This is one really awesome feature of the Infinity, and it's sort of always been this way, is the amount of stuff you get with the model. It's pretty amazing. I haven't seen a model come with this many accessories. You know, so many little details and everything are taken care of for you. It's just amazing. This is the bag of servo ramen parts for your chosen servos that you ask for when you order the model. You get the fuselage side harness parts, wire harness parts. Very well done. So you have to glue these Dean's pins into the fuselage. 2 look like control horns. This looks like the old rudder horn, but I don't think you actually need it with the Evo. And then there's this little horn here. I'm not sure what that is. And then we have screws to mount the X-tail. If you get the V-tail, obviously you don't get this stuff here. You won't need it. 2mm clevises and couplers for the push rods. Some bits of plywood. Again, I'm not sure what these are for. Maybe they're servo tray parts or something. I don't know. 4 carbon servo covers. And you get a machined motor mount, and it's got some really nice knurling on it, so it would really bond well to the fuselage. It's actually a really nice mount. It's not drilled, so you'd have to drill it yourself. And if I measure it, 30mm is the diameter that it comes with, so it comes with a 30mm mount. A lot of you guys will use whatever mount you prefer, or you might need to use a 32mm motor mount. This is a fiberglass G10 machined servo tray, and it's painted on one side, which is very cool. So this will make your cockpit look really nice. Interestingly, this one does match this model, but I have a green model here also, and it came with the same orange colored servo tray, so maybe it doesn't matter what color model you order, you're still going to get an orange tray. You get the ballast here, again 400 grams. If you get the heavy version of the model or the strong, I think you get 2 more sticks, so you get up to 600 grams. And I'm sure that the tube in the wing is longer. And then you have some gauges to find your neutral on your surfaces. So one for the center panel, and it goes underneath the wing right here. That'll allow you to set neutral there. And the other one goes underneath the wing here on your aileron, and that'll allow you to set neutral on your aileron. Which is kind of weird because you'd think if the flap is set to 0, then you just match the aileron to it, but regardless. Now, this is a really nice feature here. You get control surface deflection gauges. The measurements are in millimeters, not degrees, but you see there is 0. And then you have your measurements here. Again, this is for the center panel, so it would go here. And this one is for the tip panel. So you put that on here when you do your aileron throws. So you can get really accurate throws and a really accurate setup with this. And then, if you order the V-tail model, you also get one for your V-tails. Tons of accessories, tons of goodies, a lot of value in this kit. And let's just go over some of the details from the Infinity website. So it says that the Evo has a new fuselage, and the front of it is optimized for better prop folding with the new generation of spinners and flush mounting folding props. So the nose has been designed for that. The fuselage can be used with 30 to 32 millimeter spinner, longer tail boom, easier to control in each flight condition. That's interesting. Wing is produced with double carbon technology for maximum strength and low weight. Tail is solid core technology, lighter and stronger. They don't mention here in this little write-up anything about the new wing design, but I would assume this is basically for improved handling, more responsiveness, especially with the wider control surfaces. And I think the shorter flap is going to give you more controllability and accuracy on your landing approach in F5J contests. As far as versions go, there is an ultralight version that's 1100 grams flying, light, which is 1300 grams flying, performance, which would be the strong 1500 grams, and a thunderstorm, which would be as strong as you can get, that's 1750 grams. So 1100 grams, that's about 41 ounces, something like that. Maybe a little less. 1300 grams, about 45 ounces. 1500 grams, I think that's going to be high 40s, low 50 ounce range. And 1750, I think you're going to be getting into the high 50, low 60 ounce range flying weights. But in total, there's 4 different versions you can get. And also, obviously, weights are going to depend on the components you put inside. And also how much paint your design has, because the paint actually adds a lot of weight. So if you're looking for the lightest version, then go with the least amount of paint possible. Okay, so earlier I actually filmed some comparisons of the parts with NG parts, so Infinity Evo compared to Infinity NG parts. And we can roll that footage right now. Apologies for the strange reflection from the ceiling. It is what it is. My lighting is way off here in this video. But let's look at the differences and similarities between the Infinity Evo wing and the previous NG Infinity. Basically, the wings are identical in plan form and airfoil. So it's the same span, same airfoil. The biggest difference being that the Evo, the brake for the dihedral is right here, and the NG, it's out here. So we have more tip and more aileron, and a shorter center section, if you will, and a shorter flap. And the chord of the moving surfaces are much wider on the Evo. So this is about 85 millimeters here for the flap on the Evo, and 65 millimeters here on the NG. So 20 millimeter difference, that is really big. A few other things I noticed is that the finish on the Evo wing seems to be better than this previous Infinity NG. That could just be because the molds are newer, I don't know. And one thing that I noticed that is gone on the Evo is we have a smooth transition here to the tip panel, versus over here there was some kind of strange line, probably where they put two pieces of the mold together. You could kind of feel it with your fingers. Anyway, that's gone. This is smooth. So besides the width of the surfaces and the brake for the dihedral, everything else seems to be very similar between the older model and the new Infinity Evo. Next up are the rudders or vertical stabilizers for the X-Tail model. This is the older vertical stabilizer off an Infinity NG. The rudder is actually smaller in general than the older version. If I try to line these up as best as I can here, you can see more of an upsweep in the bottom here, you know, probably for clearance on landing. And then you can see the decrease in area as we move around. A little bit shorter, so it's not as tall as the previous NG, and the moving part of the rudder is actually shorter. So that's interesting. We see a lot these days of you know, F5J models going to bigger and bigger vertical stabilizers, and we have sort of a different style going on with the Evo. I really like that horn in there. The way that these two mount seems to be identical, so the mounting system hasn't changed at all. Comparing the old NG V-tail fuselage to the new Evo fuselage, virtually identical mounting systems for the V-tail. This is a really unique V-tail mounting system, and it works really well. I really like this feature on the Infinity for the V-tail model. Here, the previous version, you see that basically there's a ground out relief for the linkage on the V-tails. And on the Evo, that has been molded in, so that's a nice feature there. It just looks a little cleaner. And the biggest difference is, as you can see, the old NG fuselage is much shorter than the Evo. This distance seems to be about 135 millimeters. So we have a increase in the length of the boom on the Evo over the previous model. I have lined up the wing roots back here. Okay, moving on to the front of the fuselage, we can see that the length of the nose is very identical. The Evo that I have here seems to be a few millimeters longer than the NG. There is a difference in the profile of the fuselage. This NG has more of a swoopy, curved, downturned nose, and the Evo has more straight lines here. And that seems to be to accommodate the newer style of spinners and props that fit really flush against the fuselage. So if you have one of those combinations of props and spinners, you're going to get a very good fit of your prop along the fuselage when it folds back. Again, the distance from the firewall to the wing root is about the same. Okay, another difference. We can notice that there is no longer a tube or channel in the fuselage of the Evo to accept ballast. The ballast now has been the ballast system has been changed, so it's all contained in the wing. It no longer goes through the center of the fuselage. Okay, comparing X-tail fuselages. Again, we see the same increase in the length of the boom. Everything else up front is the same compared with the V-tails, so we have slightly different profile in the front, and we don't have the channel for the ballast tube here. At first glance, they look virtually identical, the pylons to mount the rudder and horizontal stabilizer, but there is a critical change in the Evo. in that there's no longer foam in here where the elevator horn would come down and hook up to the push rod. It's more of like a molded in channel and bulkhead. There may be foam up here still, I don't know, but there's a big gap here where this is all hollow. And if we look at the NG, we can see this piece of foam here, and it goes all the way up here, and it's just been sort of sanded away to try to get clearance for the elevator horn. And when I flew my Infinity X-Tail, I had to do a lot of sanding and grinding in here to get more travel out of the elevator horn. So that problem seems to be resolved with the Evo fuselage, which I think is a major bonus. Pushrod systems are identical on both the older and newer models. It's just a sleeve with a stainless steel tube. It's not a carbon pushrod. You see the push rods in there, again, stainless. Again, apologies for the strange reflection from the roof, but it is what it is. Comparing elevators, this one is the Evo, and this is one I had from an NG. These seem to me to be identical parts, so no change in the elevators for the X-tails. And then I have an NG V-tail here and a Evo V-tail here, and they seem to be identical too, so no changes in the tails with the V-tail models or the horizontal stabilizer on the X-tail, but the vertical on the X-tail on the Evo is different, as you guys saw. You know, I love attention to detail, and I love it when a manufacturer gives you a lot of extras that just make, you know, because the models are really freaking expensive, so, I mean, we all know that. So when you get extras, it just makes it a little more bearable to pay all that money for a model like this. This fuselage bag is probably the best I've ever seen. This thing is really nice, extremely high quality. Comes included with the model. And yeah, it's just a fuselage bag, but the cool thing about this is it has a double zipper here. So, you know, basically you can pull this back and pull this forward. Right? And that'll lay out like that. And you can use this when your wings are on the model. So you can protect your fuselage from the heat and the sun while your wings are on, while you have the wing covers on. You know, most models, yeah, they give you the wing and tail covers, but your fuselage is still baking out in the sun. So it's a cloth bag. It's got foam, or not foam, but like felt inside. Double zippered. It's got two pockets for both the wing joiners you get with the model. So you get a low angle and high angle joiner, again, included in the model. You know, how many models do you know that give you both angles of wing joiners? It's a really nice feature. And same thing back here with the tail. So if we unzip the zipper here, undo the Velcro, there's kind of a little pocket thing here where the tail goes in, but if you were to have your model assembled at the field, you just take this out, put this over the pocket. You can zip this guy up from the front. Your tails would still be, the back portion of your fuselage would be exposed, so you could have your tails on. So this would be closed up here. You have your tails on here. Then you can zip it up all the way to the wing, and then you could zip up the front to the wing, and you can have your fuselage covered while you're out at the field. Well, that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. A very brief look at the Infinity Evo. Nothing too technical on my end, from my side, as far as design principles and what have you, but at least you guys got to see some of the new parts, what they look like. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope some of you that might be thinking about an Evo would find this video helpful. Again, I know a lot of us are going through hard times, so I'm just going to say, you know, keep your chin up, build something, repair something, get something on your workbench. And if you're one of the lucky few that are near a flying field or have some land you can fly off of that's close by, well, I guess this would be a great time to get a lot of practice in. I'm basically stuck indoors here in Los Angeles, but I'm making the best of it, Business is running as usual, so orders are going out as normal. No disruption there so far. Alright guys, thanks a lot, stay safe, and I will see you in the next one.